In every age, men have fought to be seen, but today they vanish faster than ever. One mistake, one moment of weakness, and the world replaces you without a second thought. Relationships end, jobs move on, and society doesn't look back. The modern man has become disposable, not because he lacks heart, but because he lacks leverage. Ask yourself, if you disappeared tomorrow, who would truly need you? Who couldn't replace you with a click, a swipe, or a cheaper option? That's the cold truth Machiavelli understood centuries ago. Power doesn't belong to the good, the kind, or the loyal. It belongs to the indispensable. This isn't about chasing status or wealth. It's about mastering the ruthless art of becoming dangerously valuable, so necessary that others orbit around your existence. Because in a world that worships convenience, the only security left is irreplaceability. Machiavelli warned, men are maintained in their stations by the necessity others have of them. The question is no longer whether you're good enough, it's whether you're needed enough to be untouchable. And that begins with learning how to make yourself too valuable to lose. From the time we're boys, we're told that if we're kind, loyal, and honest, the world will reward us. That good men rise and bad men fall. But look around. How many good men do you see respected, desired, or remembered? The truth is uncomfortable. Society doesn't reward virtue. It rewards usefulness. Most men live under the illusion that morality is currency. They believe that by being agreeable, they earn love, loyalty, and opportunity. But the Machiavellian world doesn't operate on sentiment. It operates on utility. The man who bends over backward for others is not admired. He's taken for granted. His loyalty becomes expected, his kindness assumed, and his value forgotten. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote that men love at their own convenience, but fear at the convenience of others. Translation: people value you not for who you are, but for what you provide, and how costly it would be to lose you. This is why the nice guy becomes invisible. His generosity becomes background noise. His reliability turns him into a tool, not a man. When he's no longer convenient, he's replaced without hesitation, because his presence never created leverage. It's not cruelty that governs power. It's necessity. The man who refuses to make himself indispensable is destined to be overlooked, no matter how noble his heart. So when the world tells you to, just be good. Remember, morality is not a substitute for power. You can be kind, but if you're replaceable, your goodness has no weight. The illusion of value ends the moment you realize this. People remember what they need, not what they merely like, and Machiavelli's next lesson reveals the cold, ruthless reality that separates the powerful from the forgotten. Machiavelli stripped away every illusion when he wrote, "Men are maintained in their stations by the necessity others have of them." It's one of the coldest, yet most accurate laws of human nature. Your worth is not measured by your goodness, but by how difficult you are to replace. Power doesn't protect you. Necessity does. Look at the architecture of modern life. In relationships, most men believe love is unconditional, until the day it isn't. A man loses his job, his drive, or his edge, and suddenly the affection that once felt eternal fades into polite detachment. Why? Because the emotional economy changed. His value in the relationship, his perceived necessity, declined. When a man no longer provides what others need, he becomes invisible. The same is true in careers. The employee who simply does his job is disposable. But the man who builds rare competence, who knows systems no one else understands, becomes untouchable. Companies tolerate his flaws, overlook his rebellion, and even fear losing him, because replacing him would cost too much. History echoes this truth endlessly. Think of Niccolò Machiavelli himself. A man exiled, then recalled, because his political insight was too sharp to ignore. Or consider a modern example, a visionary founder who commands investors, employees, and followers alike, not through kindness, but through indispensable skill. Even when the world despises their personality, it bows to their utility. That's the ruthless reality of human nature. Affection is fickle, but dependence is power. The moment people need you more than they like you, the balance shifts, and control silently moves into your hands. Machiavelli understood that survival isn't about being loved. It's about being necessary. Because when others depend on your presence, they will protect it, even when they hate it. The men who grasp this rule stop chasing approval and start building leverage. They stop asking to be chosen and start designing situations where they can't be ignored. And that's the anatomy of power, not built on charm, but on necessity engineered through skill, mystery, and control. Most men mistake visibility for value. They believe that posting success online, showing off achievements, or collecting validation proves their worth. But what they're really chasing is performative value, a fragile illusion built on attention, not authority. Machiavelli would call it vanity disguised as strength. Because true value doesn't beg to be seen, it demands to be felt. Real power operates in silence. It's not found in the man who needs to prove he's winning. It's in the man who doesn't need to prove anything. His value is woven into competence, composure, and scarcity, three pillars that separate kings from commoners. Competence is the foundation. It's the mastery that makes a man's presence solve problems others can't. The world revolves around the competent, the surgeon whose steady hands are trusted, the strategist whose judgment can't be replaced, the leader whose calm presence turns chaos into order. Control is the second pillar. Power collapses when emotion takes command. A man who controls his impulses, tone, and reactions becomes unpredictable and therefore untouchable. People tread carefully around the emotionally disciplined because they can't be manipulated through anger, flattery, or guilt. And then comes scarcity, the most dangerous form of value. When something is rare, it becomes sacred. A man who cultivates rare skills, who doesn't overshare his time, energy, or presence, becomes magnetic. The less available he is, the more people chase his approval, his insight, his alliance. This trinity, competence, control, and scarcity, forms the quiet architecture of power. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's absolute. The world bends around those who possess it, often without realizing why. Meanwhile, performative men burn themselves out trying to look powerful. They flaunt money, status, or moral superiority, yet crumble when validation fades, because attention isn't leverage. It's addiction. True value is leverage built in silence, the kind that grows while others are distracted by noise. And here lies the dark secret Machiavelli hinted at. Once you learn how to build indispensability through this trinity, you no longer chase control, you become control. But there's a formula to this transformation, one that turns quiet strength into undeniable power. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next. Machiavelli never wrote it as an equation, but his principles reveal a timeless formula for unshakable power. Competence plus detachment plus strategic. Coldness equals in dispensabil. This isn't charm. It isn't luck. It's a structure for becoming so essential that others depend on you, yet can never control you. Competence is the first law, the foundation of every powerful man's aura. When you master a skill, a system, or a domain others can't replicate, you stop being replaceable. The surgeon who performs miracles, the strategist who reads chaos like a language, the CEO who builds empires from dust, they all share one thing: they make themselves needed. Their mastery turns the tables. People tolerate their flaws, guard their loyalty, even forgive betrayal, because losing them would cost too much. Competence is not about doing everything. It's about doing one thing so well that it becomes your weapon. But competence alone isn't enough. Detachment gives it power. Most men destroy themselves, not from lack of ability, but from emotional dependence. They tie their worth to approval, from women, bosses, or peers, and in doing so, hand over the keys to their self-control. Detachment is freedom from that trap. It's the calm refusal to seek permission to exist. The detached man performs not to please, but to preserve leverage. He can walk away at any moment, and that terrifies people, because walking away is the ultimate show of strength. And then comes strategic coldness, the final edge. It doesn't mean cruelty. It means emotional precision, the ability to withhold warmth until it serves a purpose. to maintain mystery, to never reveal full intent, to let silence speak louder than words. The cold man is feared because he cannot be read, and what cannot be read cannot be manipulated. History's most dangerous figures shared this quality. Caesar in the Senate, Napoleon before battle, modern CEOs negotiating billions. Their calm under pressure wasn't absence of feeling, it was control of it. These three forces fuse into something magnetic, the kind of value that commands rather than asks, that earns loyalty without begging for it. A man who embodies this formula becomes an axis. People orbit him because he gives them structure, clarity, and confidence they lack. But for every man who builds this power, 1,000 lose it, because competence fades without discipline, detachment collapses under emotion, and coldness can turn to arrogance. So the next question is crucial. If this formula creates power, what destroys value faster than anything else? Most men don't lose their value because they lack potential. They lose it because they give it away. Slowly, quietly, and with good intentions. They trade their power for approval, their independence for affection, and their edge for comfort. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens every time a man chases being liked instead of being needed. Modern life is designed to feed that weakness. Social media turns validation into a drug. Likes, comments, attention. Men post achievements not to express purpose, but to harvest approval. Every digital pat on the back rewires the mind to crave recognition instead of respect. And the result? An entire generation of men addicted to being seen while starving to be valued. The same pattern infects relationships. Men overinvest emotionally, overshare, and overcommit to prove their worth. They think love means constant availability, total vulnerability, and emotional surrender. But Machiavelli would see it differently. He'd call it strategic suicide. Because when you give without restraint, you destroy scarcity. And without scarcity, your value dies. Even workplaces exploit this trap. Companies glorify team players who sacrifice everything for the collective, but quietly replace them the moment they stop producing. The lesson? The world rewards usefulness only while it benefits from it. Once your service is no longer needed, your goodness becomes irrelevant. This is the trap of the modern man, mistaking appreciation for power. He believes that if enough people like him, he's safe. But approval is unstable. It evaporates the moment you stop feeding it. Machiavelli understood this centuries before Instagram. He knew that the man who depends on others for validation becomes their servant. And servants, no matter how noble, are always replaceable. The modern trap is comfort disguised as connection. It seduces men into emotional obedience, into giving more of themselves than the world ever earned. Escaping it demands a brutal kind of awakening, one that tears away the illusion of approval and replaces it with the pursuit of sovereignty. Because only when a man stops chasing love can he start commanding respect. To become dangerously valuable, a man must undergo a quiet but radical transformation, one that begins in the mind and manifests in his behavior. This path isn't about pretending to be powerful. It's about becoming the kind of man whose presence rewrites the dynamics of every room he enters. Machiavelli would call this the cultivation of sovereignty, the process by which a man ceases to be owned by anything or anyone. The first step is strategic self-interest. Modern men are taught that selflessness is virtue, but Machiavelli knew that unchecked selflessness is suicide. Strategic self-interest doesn't mean selfishness. It means placing your energy where it yields leverage, not depletion. You give only when it strengthens your position. You help when it builds alliances. Every move must serve the architecture of your long-term power. Next is selective alliance. Not every connection is worth maintaining, and not every friendship serves your evolution. Powerful men curate their circles. They associate upward with those who challenge them, sharpen them, and open doors. Loyalty should never be unconditional. It should be strategic, based on mutual respect and reciprocal necessity. Machiavelli warned that a prince must learn how not to be good, meaning he must know when virtue becomes weakness, and when distance becomes strength. Then comes emotional unreadability. This doesn't mean apathy. It means control. When you reveal your emotions too easily, others learn how to move you. The man who cannot be read cannot be led. In negotiation, in relationships, even in conflict, silence and composure are more persuasive than explanation. Emotional discipline makes people project power onto you, even when you say nothing. Finally, continuous self-upgrading. Power decays without evolution. Every day you stay the same, the world catches up. To remain dangerously valuable, you must refine your craft, mind, and presence relentlessly. Learn new systems, master rare skills, study human behavior, and remain unpredictable. The moment people think they fully understand you, you've already lost leverage. But behind all these tactics lies a deeper principle: ruthlessness with intelligence. Ruthlessness without thought is destruction. Intelligence without edge is weakness. Machiavelli's wisdom lies in the balance, knowing when to strike, when to wait, when to show warmth, and when to turn cold. Power isn't the absence of empathy. It's the ability to choose when and where it appears. When a man embodies these laws, something profound happens. He stops reacting to life and begins orchestrating it. Others adjust to his rhythm. His presence demands respect not through noise, but through inevitability. That is the awakening Machiavelli spoke of, not becoming cruel, but becoming so composed, capable, and calculated that the world quietly acknowledges. You cannot be replaced. Morality doesn't protect you. Kindness doesn't make you valuable. The world only respects one currency: power. And power is born from value that can't be replaced. That's the truth Machiavelli understood centuries ago, and it remains just as brutal today. When you master yourself, your emotions, your skills, your scarcity, you no longer chase validation. You create gravity. People orbit you because they need you, not because they like you. That's the difference between being respected and being tolerated. The weak man waits for recognition. The powerful man builds it. Every hour he invests in mastery, every moment he practices silence, every boundary he sets, he's crafting his own throne. This isn't about becoming cold for the sake of ego. It's about becoming untouchable in a world that trades loyalty for convenience. When you become dangerously valuable, you stop begging for respect, because the world has no choice but to give it. So ask yourself, are you useful or irreplaceable? Because most men will die replaceable. You don't have to.